Welcome back, just in the nick of time to He's a Giant, a pod about all things college football and all things Giants football. Here with our defensive line episode. I am your host, Sal, with my co-host, Monty. What's going on, man?
You're lucky you showed up when you did, or the blood of Staten Island would have been on your hands.
For those who don't know, and hopefully you do know, I tweeted out today, I declared that we will start this pod before 9:45 p.m. East. I didn't write Eastern time, but everybody knows what I meant. Or Lou Anarumo will be named the next Giants head coach. And as everybody else, and I meme that with the free speech. Great meme. Anyway, and everybody who knows Monty knows that if Lou Anarumo is named the head coach of the Giants, he has promised on multiple occasions to commit a crime of mass atrocity to the people of Staten Island. If that happens, he's threatening all of you to not allow Lou Anarumo to be hired as head coach.
The people of Staten Island need to stop advocating for Lou, or it's going to be a problem. Don't arrest me, Cash Patel.
It's a Cash Patel's too busy right now hanging out with his definitely not Mossad girlfriend who just likes him for his good looks. Anyway, so we're moving on to our episode here. Defensive tackles. This is a great episode. No joke. We say this every week, but we really this time. This is a freaking awesome DT class, Monty, right?
It is. It was a really fun one. I feel like we have like 5 more guys that will probably have to come back at some point and review because there's a lot of guys that got left off our list. But yeah, man, I always feel like every single year we walk away with like our full bloom love draft crush. The first year was Chris Jenkins. Last year was Walter Nolan. And you guys have to stick around for, at least for me, my full bloom draft crush. And I think Sal's about there too.
I was there. When we get there, I'll tell you right now, when I saw this, I saw him first when we were doing our film review. I didn't say anything because I've been doing this for now. This is our 3rd season doing this. I know Monty. I was like, oh, when he sees this guy, he's going to lose his shit. And I just knew it. And he lost. Yeah, he is fun. We'll get to that guy. Anyway, before we get into the DTs, as per usual, we're going to recap some Giants world stuff going on. So the Giants lost their 8th consecutive game to a team that had just lost 8 consecutive games in the Washington Commanders. Did not really look competitive for most of the game. Got some points towards the end. Jackson Dart struggled in the first half when it looked like they were not letting him play his game, and then they loosened up and let him play his game, and then he became Jackson Dart again, which was reassuring to see, which is kind of all I really care about, to be honest, at this point. He managed to not have a concussion, even though they blamed him for having one potentially. But bottom line is we've lost 8 straight. Giants are 2-12, still holding on for dear life to that number 1 overall pick. And as far as I know, we haven't fired anybody yet on Giant Survivor, but I thought Michael Gabriel was a dead man this time, but we'll see. I guess not. What are your thoughts of where this organization is this week?
These last 2 weeks, to me, I just don't see a way that Joe Schoen isn't fired. I mean, this organization surprises me consistently with their incompetence. So maybe he will stick around, but the way we've lost these last 2 weeks just falls so much on Joe Schoen as our general manager. The man who talks about, I will not make the same mistake twice, and then hasn't found a kicker in fucking 4 years is insane. It's among plenty of other things. You blame Brian Dable for the team's lack of success. And then, the number one thing you were hanging your hat on with Jackson Dart doesn't look as good without Brian Dable, running the offense. I think it'll be fine. I don't think it's some bullshit like people are pushing, like Brian Dable is the only person who can coach Jackson Dart. But I do think there is idea he was playing to his strengths, and Kafka isn't, and it just it's a bad look for Shane.
Important message from our audience here. Sean says, fire Shokin and Joe Schoen. So thank you, Sean. That was the first time I did that. I had to learn how to hit that button. All right. Yeah, dude, he sucks. And this is getting to be a joke that he's still GM. It's getting to be a joke that we're still going through this. After the game, you like messaged me, you're like, is he going to get fired after this? And I was like, great. And it's like, oh, I guess he doesn't. And we just moved on, it's a joke. I just, from the time Dable was fired and there was all this like, hand wringing about, oh my God, Joe Shane surviving this. I've had the same steady point, which is I don't see Joe Shane surviving 7 weeks of this shit.
Yeah, it was tension fully went on him, and that's the number one thing with firing Brian Dable is you can't fucking use him as a scapegoat when he's not here. So it's just all on Shane right now.
Yeah, it's not looking good. We'll see what happens. We only have a few more weeks to go. The most important thing at this point, sadly, is Tankathon. The Giants hold the number 1 pick. They're facing 9 and the Vikings this week. 9, who's put up 31 points the last 2 weeks. The Viking defense is flying, even though they put Jonathan Grenard and one of their starting safeties on IR today. I get this. I mean, you never know, but I get the suspicion this is not going to be a fun game to watch for Giants fans. This has the makings of a massive beatdown because their defense is flying and now their offense is beginning to click. Not good. So that game, I think we're likely to lose. You never know, but we're likely to lose it.
Played the NFC North games well. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, that's true. We'll see. Although, Brian Flores' revenge game. What better way to show them you still hate them than beat the shit out of them again, and make a point for your candidacy
or ruin their draft pick.
Wow. Anyway, that doesn't help your candidacy for the job, nor what you would do with the job once you got there. So that doesn't
petty.
Work. Yeah, I guess he is petty. I don't think they're in the business of trying to lose though right now.
I don't think so.
They're trying to win and build up some momentum for their quarterback. Assuming they lost this week, you got 2 games left. The end of the season game against the Cowboys, which I don't know how the Cowboys are going to play out that game. Chances are they'll be eliminated by that game at the pace they're going. But, it's a division game. And then the freaking Raiders, the week before that, which is shaping up right now to be the Fernando Mendoza Bowl. And the loser gets control of the asset that will determine value in the NFL draft. So it's going to be interesting to see. I'll be honest, I have very little faith the Giants are going to hold on to this number 1 pick. I just don't think they will, but some people believe they will, and I hope you guys are right.
I have had no trust that they will hold on to the number 1 pick basically this whole time before we got it, when we got it. I just don't trust it. Every week we lose, I get a little bit more belief that it will happen. Starting to get to the point where I could be hurt, but the only time that I will fully believe it is once we get past the Raiders game, and I'll just be praying that we lose to the Cowboys in that case. But I don't know. Geno Smith looks like he's coming back. Maybe Geno can beat us if we do it. Who knows? Raiders look worse than us. We've played good games. Despite the last 2 games, we have played good games. We could easily get right back to there and beat the Vikings. We'll see. Well, it is what it is, man. I hope Jackson Dart plays well, and we'll go from there.
Absolutely. For those public service announcement, for those who have to do their picks for DKIT, do not leave to go to another space. Watch us, and after this pod, DKIT will host a space in which you can do your picks or something like that. All right. I've had enough talking about the Giants because
me too.
I don't want to talk about them anymore. Not the fun part of the show. All right. You want to get into these defensive tackles?
Yeah. Yes, I do.
All right, guys. As per usual, we went through more than 5, a bunch of tackles. I watched several. We did our independent reviews, then we did our grades, our scouting reports. We talked about it very briefly as we were starting the show, and we don't quite rank per se like what we think are going to be the top 5 guys in the class. In fact, there's a guy who's going to be top 5 in this class we didn't even really get into in this particular episode. We'll get to him later, but we're going over we picked 5 guys to go over. We did grade them out against each other, and we used our grading system for DTs, and their scores are what they are. So we're going to go in order of who graded out the highest. And once again, we do this independently, and what you guys think will be the number 1 may not be the number 1. And that's how it goes here. So, oh, good. Jabri's here in town just to be disappointed right away. All right. So we actually have a tie for number 1 on our list. But I'm going to let Monty present let's just say with 1A to him because he loves this guy. So
Yeah.
why don't you go over our highest graded player of the players reviewed so far?
Yeah. So this guy. I was teasing earlier how I kind of get my full bloom love every single year at the defensive line position. So Chris Jenkins the first year, last year was Walter Nolan, and this year for me, Amari Washington from Oregon. Actually, somebody that we talked about before the season in our freak list episode. If you recall, he's a 6'3", 330-pound defensive tackle from Oregon, 4-star recruit, true junior. He's clocked 20.89 miles per hour, a 36-inch vertical jump at 330 pounds is fucking insane. 775-pound squat, benches 475, and power cleans 385. So the reason this guy graded out so well for me, like my love aside, is the physical freak that he is. I mean, this is the guy when you aspire who is there can be another Dexter Lawrence in the NFL. Like this is the type of athlete that has that type of upside. He has a long way to go with his hands and whatnot to get there. But man, you watch him absolutely dominate some games. So let's get into some of what I had on him. Brings speed and power on every snap. Elite initial burst, elite first step quickness and explosive power allows him to displace linemen and create immediate disruption. This guy is constantly causing disruption with his speed and his strength. Plays with extension and base strength, engaging, controlling, and disengaging blocks to make tackles. He just uses his long arms and continually, keeps them off his frame and sheds and make plays in the backfield. Wins in isolated situation. Physically just overwhelms players one-on-one. If you guys want, I posted just when I was watching film last night, video on my Twitter, just him left one-on-one, absolutely fucking bull rushes him into the quarterback, and all three of them just end up knocked over. It was just absolute dominance. Active and aware, regularly affects a quarterback's throwing lane, just getting his hands up. Aggressive, violent hand strikes allow him to control blockers and dictate engagement. Maintains excellent pad level throughout plays, rarely upright, even when taking on multiple blockers. So the guy who can just eat double teams, is an insane athlete who can work with agility horizontally and just absolutely dominate people's strength. The upside of this guy is clear, despite some negatives that we're about to get into, he just really does consistently disrupt plays. He's just constantly somebody you have to worry about. He has a lot of places to go. So some of the negatives, I felt like sometimes he was just almost chaotic watching him. Like he kind of run himself out of plays, and he didn't feel like he was using technique the best he could. He was just a little bit over aggressive and chaotic, but he was like Tasmanian devil type craziness back there. Primarily wins with strength and athleticism. Pass rush technique and hand usage do need development. Doesn't consistently tack as a tackler. Like he's not somebody who will just absolutely lay the guy out for negative yards. He's more a guy who give him his frame, kind of do a bear hug and just take him down. He's a pretty consistent tackler, but he's not the one to knock you back for negative yards. Let's see. Aggressive first steps sometimes takes him out of position versus mixed direction or delayed plays, kind of like what I was saying with the chaoticness. And still developing the ability to consistently translate the athleticism into production. The production definitely isn't fully there, but you can fully see his athleticism, size, strength on display when he plays.
Yep. He is I knew you'd love the guy. I mean, he is definitely the most fun watch out of all these guys. Explosive and fast. In fact, I think I made the comment to you that when I was watching his tape, I was like, is this thing accidentally on 1.5x speed?
Yeah.
Because it was going so quick. And then I was like, no, this is regular speed. The dude he just jumps off the screen. His first step, I don't know if it's him timing the snap or he's just that that explosive. I think it's more the latter, but he explodes off the snap and he flies into the backfield like pretty consistently. He either gets there by one gapping, which if he's just quick enough to get there, he'll be able to do it. But he'll just get there by putting guys on a sled and driving them backwards consistently, and he does that with just raw power. And I think his hand usage, while it needs some work, he's plenty strong. And he when he gets his hands underneath guys into their chest plate, they're toast. Like that, like I'd love to see the guy on the sled because he looks like a beast. And he's just always in the backfield. He's very disruptive. He's a very good run defender as it is. I think when you look at his numbers, it bears it out, right? I think he's got some of the best run defense numbers in the country. I believe his run defense grade is an 81.5 with a 6.9% run stop rate. These are really high end numbers. Now his pass rush win rate's about 8.4%, which is still pretty good for a guy in the interior. I wouldn't say it's elite. I don't think he's a great pass rusher, mainly because, as you mentioned, there's still a lot of technique stuff to be worked out, right? I mean, he's not a guy that has a plan. He just wants to like explode into the backfield and then kind of figure things out once he gets there.
But he is a pocket pusher.
He does
cause disruption.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you ask yourself, what are you looking for, right? If you're going for pure traits here and saying, I can teach up some of the technique stuff with this guy, I know the floor of Washington is just a pocket collapsing interior defensive lineman who can stop the run. And he's a real pocket pusher and he's explosive. So you get that out of him right away. And there's some stuff to work with here, right? Work on his hand technique, work on his counter moves, maybe calm him down just a little bit so he doesn't fly himself out of the play.
Yeah.
I think coaching can help with some of that stuff, but I'm not going to assume it's going to get suddenly a lot better. I'm going to say what he is just like a really explosive pocket pushing run stopper who has some upside as a pass rusher. But, I think a lot of teams are going to bet on this. And I think he's a guy that probably will test very well at the combine for all the reasons you mentioned. And I think when people see his tape a little bit more deeply, I think you'll see him rise in the draft process. I have a hard time believing he's gonna stay like, as like a top of the second, late first kind of guy forever. I feel pretty confident he's gonna end up in the first round.
I'll also say, like, obviously he needs to improve like his hands and whatnot to be a consistent pass rusher, but you can't leave this guy one-on-one. If you leave this guy one-on-one, he will just physically dominate you. And if you add him to this team with Dexter Lawrence, who already commands double teams, like, you're going to have to leave him one-on-one. And he is going to take advantage of especially the smaller guards and centers and whatnot.
Yep. Let's get to the grades. So you were definitely higher on him. I knew you would be than I was. I had a high grade, but you were really high. So strength, we both gave him a 5.
Yep, that's a super
leverage, we both gave him a 4. He's pretty solid there, even though he's a big guy. Explosiveness, absolutely. This is like a 5 going on 10.
Another superpower.
Yeah, hand usage 2. I think we both agreed, like a little chaotic. Quickness 4, very fast. When he one gaps, I was surprised a guy his size how quickly he could one gap. Balance 3. Tackling, you gave him a 3. I gave him a 2. I just thought there were some missed tackles, the chaos, like it wasn't necessarily a tackling technique thing, but more like reliability thing.
Yeah, I mean,
just because of how he
from
plays.
like a run defense standpoint, he puts himself out of the play at times. And he's not like an aggressive tackler, but I do think he's got, he's just got that bear hug. He just he gets his arms on you. He's taking you down.
As with all of these players, it's worth asking, what did life look like with Dexter Lawrence? For the purposes of today's episode, and to not make my friend Jabri want to come down to Virginia and shoot me, we're not going to talk about trading Dexter Lawrence today. We're going to talk about what these guys look like next to Dexter Lawrence.
If we draft him and he looks like Dexter Lawrence, we can talk about trading Dexter Lawrence. But
until we're not trading Dexter Lawrence. Let's relax. So can we imagine a world where we draft Amari Washington and he will be slid next to Dexter Lawrence in I don't know what the defensive scheme is. Let's just say it's a kind of a 3-4 base with 2 defensive ends, and he basically ends up playing defensive end, which I think he easily could. On the other side is Darius Alexander with Dexter Lawrence in the middle. How does that line feel to you guys with Abdul Carter and Brian Burns as the outside linebackers? We'll get to Kayden another day, but I feel pretty good about that being a strong unit to plug up gaps rush the passer, stop the run. I think there's a lot of power there to collapse the pocket and just a lot of mass to stop the run. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, man. I think that's the move to move forward with this line is getting, a big run stopper who ideally has some pass rushing upside. Depends where you are in the draft if you can really get that. But I think you got a guy in Darius Alexander who has that pass rush upside and hopefully can be a reliable run stopper, but still has a way to go there. If you can just complement that with somebody who's more of a run stopper, I think this line would be in really good shape.
Exactly. I love the guy. I think he's a fun prospect, and like he grades out high. We're just gonna go with the grade, you know. Let's get to 1B on our list. How about that?
Yep.
Now I'll go over this guy, and I will say this guy he graded out overall as our 1B, but he was actually my he was tied for one on my list. Amari Washington was not in my top two. Just personally, I'll just announce that our joint grade end up, at the top. But 1B is another player that we should be discussing, and he's going to be a first round pick. Kaden McDonald out of Ohio State, 6'3", 326 pounds. If you don't know his name already, get to know Kaden McDonald, folks. Kaden McDonald is a former 4-star recruit. He is a beast in the center of that Ohio State defense. If you were watching the Indiana game in particular, you saw all of his skill and power on display. A guy who kind of sat behind Tyleik Williams, got his chance to play, and has gone off this year. He's a very, very high motor player. He really is just constantly grinding all game long. High effort, closes off angles. He is an elite run defender, Monty. This guy knows how to play the run from the center of the line. He is your classic dominant force as a two-gapper. He will take on blocks. He eats double teams for breakfast. If you don't double him, you're toast. If you double him, you might be toast anyway because he's so good at not giving an inch to double teams. And something he continuously does while he's double teamed, and I'm sure you saw this on tape, is his head is up, right? He's not driving his head down and trying to push through. His head is up and on a swivel while he's taking on two linemen on a swivel, and he's following the ball carrier. And you see him with four hands on him. If the ball carrier is moving to his left, he's peeking to the left and showing, I've got this gap. I've seen plays where he's got four hands on him where he moves to the left to take away the gap. The running back cuts back, and he slides to the right. He's like, nope, I've got this gap too. The guy is a problem in run defense, and he's a nightmare to try to run against if you're an offensive line and an offensive coordinator. How does he do all those things? Well, he's strong as an ox. He's a crazy good athlete. You see it on tape. Like, not only can he get explosive off the snap and drive guys backwards when he's not double teamed and hold his position when he is, but he's really good at like disengaging and getting his hands on the ball carrier. Like, he can just get his arms free very quickly and wrap guys up and take them down. Now, he doesn't have the longest arms. You're going to hear this about players this year. So sometimes that's a little bit limiting, but he's really good of getting in the vicinity of the ball carrier, taking them down, wraps and takes them down with great technique. Elite run defender is his calling card. I think there's some upside as a pass rusher here too, but it's just what he does so well is what he does so well. And I focus on that. He is an anchor guy. More than that, he doesn't collapse the pocket the way your guy, that you discussed Washington does. He's not a guy who drives and destroys the pocket. He just kind of stands there and pushes it back a little bit and just occupies linemen. He doesn't have a fully developed, series of pass rush moves, and you have to take that into account with where you draft him. But as long as you know what you're getting and you're okay with it, elite high-end run defending defensive tackle, very high effort, technically sound, two-gapper, and can get very athletic when he needs to disengage, chase down ball carriers. Very good tackler. I don't see a lot of flaws in his game. I love this guy's tape, and I thought to myself, this is the guy I can definitely see sitting next to Dexter Lawrence on our line and dominating. So I am going to just stop there and let you give me your thoughts.
I liked him. I agree with everything you said. I don't necessarily know if I'm as high as some of the others who see him like as a bona fide first round guy. And he might be especially because of this draft class. It's, weaker at the top. To me, he feels like kind of the mold of the defensive tackles the Giants historically under Reese used to take at the beginning of the second round or middle of the second round every single year. He's a very Dalvin Tomlinson like player. Like he's going to be like a 10-year pro as a run stopper in this league. He's a very good run defender. He's a good, not great athlete, but he's more than functional as an athlete. Yeah, my main issues with him though where I lacked upside to me is like I said, he's an anchor when he doesn't push. It almost never gives any push in the pass or run. He kind of sits there, anchors, and he's very good at keeping his head on swivel, awareness. And if a quarterback rolls outside, he'll move across the line and follow him. If a running back coming in for a run play, he sheds and makes plays. Very good vision, but he's not collapsing a pocket. He doesn't really have the pass rush moves. He doesn't really kind of show. He does have good hands, just not like in the sense, but more just as a run defender. I like him. To me, he is a high floor, low ceiling guy.
I mean, I think it depends on how you define ceiling. If you're defining ceiling as being limited because you're not talking about an elite pass rusher, okay, I will accept that. I will argue that in today's NFL, the ability to completely negate interior run design and interior run offense is a very, very high ceiling kind of talent. And he's that kind of guy. Like he can just erase the run game at the line of scrimmage.
It's valuable, but like as far as like the reason interior D line has suddenly become a premium position is because these guys have become freak pass rushers, not because from their run defense ability. And run defense is important, obviously, but I think it's still like like an off-ball linebacker level important. It's important, but it's on the lower end of the defense.
I mean, there's more than one way to build a defense, and there's more than one way to build a run defense, right? You can have guys who can be erasers like this guy as one person. You can have guys like we're going to go over later who can basically be, gap holders that basically their job is to let the linebackers do the work, right? They come at a cheaper value than a guy like this. And you can certainly do that, right? You can get guys like that. When was the last time the Giants had a guy like this, though?
Dalvin.
Right. About the last time we had a really good run defense, to be totally frank, and I think I think our run defense problems, they're a combination of things. It's personnel in the linebacking room for sure. It's scheme. It's the way we set our edges for sure. A lot of it is alignment of our interior D linemen. All that is true. But I think at the end of the day, one of the biggest problems is we don't have an elite run defending D tackle next to Dexter Lawrence. And I think that is a problem. And if you told me that, hey, I have to pick one type of a defensive tackle to put next to Dexter Lawrence, who will be the most impactful player for our team for the next few years, I'm going to choose the elite run defender at this point over the pass rusher, because I think that's way more impactful for our team, assuming we get Dex back closer to what Dex is next year. And I believe this year was an one-off. I think he's been hurt. We both agree. Like he's been playing hurt. I think when Dex is, he's everything, right? He does everything. But I think a run defender is more suitable because I think Darius Alexander is the guy who can do a little bit of everything, but he's more of the pass rusher.
That's what I was going to say. I think you need both, but you started it with Darius Alexander, so you have two guys you can rotate in there. Again, I like Kaden McDonald. I just think you can find these guys on day 2, day 3 often.
Are they as good as this?
I mean, a lot of them have pass rush upside.
Well, and this is going to become the question. I think the NFL is moving, and I think this is a debate to have, right? We're going to have this tonight. We're going to have this probably on Spaces later. We're going to talk about this. The NFL, I believe, is going to be moving in the direction of revaluing guys like this, right? Run plugging monsters, not just fat guys, but actual elite athletes who are there to stop the run, right? And so it's a debate of where you value them, how much you value them. Obviously, the return of the big, strong linebacker we saw that. We went over it, right? We need that. And so I think to some extent, you're going to need that on the D line too. But either way, let's get to the guys' grade.
Yep.
So Strength, you gave him a 4. I gave him a 5. I think he's strong as a freaking ox, but okay.
He doesn't get any
Yeah.
push though. I don't know how we can give him a 5 when he doesn't give any push.
It's the defense they play. I'm just saying, like, did you watch the Indiana game?
Yeah.
He was getting triple teamed and not moving.
He doesn't push.
How do I not?
How do you not give a guy a 5 who doesn't
triple teamed and not giving an inch? And how am I not going to give the guy a 5 for that?
You got to get pushed to get a 5.
The number 1 team in the country was triple teaming him throughout the second half of that game.
You're talking about elite 5 out of 5.
That is elite. That's elite strength. I think we're defining it a little bit different, but I just feel like I don't think you can. I don't know how many guys other than Dexter Lawrence I've seen do things like that, where they can stand there and just eat that many people coming at them and not budge. Like, that's strong as shit.
Yeah, I play here and there.
It was the whole second half of the game.
I saw a couple times triple.
Let's move on. Leverage, you gave him a 4. I gave him a 3 here. Actually, I was a little lower on him on leverage. I thought he stood up straight sometimes, but he is usually very good in leverage. Yeah. Jump and explosiveness, we both agree he's good, not great. He's 3. Hand usage, you gave him a 3. I gave him a 4. I liked his hands.
It's tough because he doesn't offer anything as a pass rusher, but he's good with using as a run defender.
That's fair. I'm basically formulating it on that for the most part.
I went between 3 and 4 on that one. I couldn't decide.
Quickness, I would agree, is a 3. We don't see much more than an average quickness in terms of
lateral. Average. It's fine.
Yeah. Balance, very solid, 4. Mm-hmm. And tackling, very solid, 4. So, I grade him a little bit higher, but overall, I mean, look, I think we agree with what he is. But where we're disagreeing on is how much you value it and where you value it. And that is a discussion.
I'll also say the balance, that was more me like giving him credit to like holding up against those double teams, triple teams. When he gets hit on the side, he holds his feet and can hold his ground.
Yep. Exactly. That's fair. All right. You want to do number 3?
Yeah, I can do 3. And this is the name that I'm sure people have been waiting for us to talk about. And, just another good player in this class. And that's Peter Woods out of Clemson, 6'3", 310 pounds. A lot of people looked as one of the top players, potentially a blue chip in this class. That's how he's being talked about. He actually was a Feldman freak. Bench presses 490 pounds, had 34 reps at 225, squats 700, power cleans 385, runs a 4.86 40-yard dash and vertical jumps 33 inches. Freak athlete. It was incredible numbers. Now, as far as what I saw, I didn't see that rare 5 out of 5 that we were talking about with Washington get off, but like a very, very good get off from good timing, good short area quickness that just, allows them to be quicker. And like basically all the other interior defensive linemen you're seeing on the field, all the other ones on his team, there's some good athletes on that team. Plays with heavy, violent hands. He has this like vicious push and pull where he'll push him and just absolutely chuck him right next to him and put him right on the ground. You can see him just has these violent hands. He generates pocket collapse with power and holds firm at the point of attack, wins with length and extension to control and shed, shows a good awareness to get hands up and disrupt interior passing lanes, and moves well side to side along the line of scrimmage, can run stunts and all that type of stuff. The cons I had on him. His presence shows up, but it doesn't consistently finish plays in his vicinity. I see him get there. It was a little bit of the Amari Washington part where he'll kind of overrun something and take him out of a play, but also just like there's an ability, a guy's running by him, he sticks an arm out to get him and the guy keeps going. Like I just don't see him make the plays. He's right there to make them, and I'm constantly seeing him not finishing, and that was bothering me when I was watching him. His gap penetration is limited for such a good athlete. I don't see him just get skinny and squeeze through a gap. Like he has the jump to do it, but he doesn't really like shoot gaps like some of these other guys. And then the last thing I kind of noticed that was negative. Sometimes you could tell the fatigue was impacting his pad level on like long drives or later in the game. You could see him get a little bit high. So there is an issue, a little bit of a conditioning problem, I would say. But what did you think, Sal?
No, I largely kind of agree with what you're saying. And this is I think there's a lot more to Peter Woods than I think his tape suggests. And so, like, we're grading based on the tape. Let's just be clear here. You watch the tape and you're just like, what do you see from all of these things? And we'll get to the grades. I think the tape very much underestimates what his capability is. It's a weird thing to say, but you have to keep watching him to see what he's physically capable of. And what he's physically capable of is a rare blend of athleticism, explosiveness, raw power, speed, agility, flexibility to be used, and versatility around the defensive line. Like they use him kind of all over in Clemson. They move him around the line. He doesn't put it on display every single play, but when you see what he can do, it's almost terrifying how dominant he can be. I would say that about Woods, right? Like there are reps, and there's more than a few, where he gets his hands on somebody and he gets that explosive first step off the snap, and he'll be going up against some guy who's like a pretty good interior lineman, and he'll just shock him backwards with one hand, right? Like he's so strong, he'll drive these guys back into the quarterback really quickly. They're almost shocked by how strong the dude is. He can one gap fast. He can do a lot of things really well. I thought he was really good at stunts and twists, very, very agile.
Definitely has the athleticism to it.
One of the criticisms of him coming into this year was his ability to disengage. I thought he disengaged really well. Like when I was watching him on tape, I felt like he was able to hold to, whether it was a single block or a double team, he was able to like hold the block long enough. And when he got anywhere near the ball carrier, he was just able to shed guys quickly and toss them and then go get the ball carrier because he's so agile and he can do things like that. I think where I run into some difficulty with him, and I think people will discuss this, is it's not always there, right? It's inconsistent level of elite production. I think his baseline is a very good player. He flashes all pro talent, and it's just not there all the time. And so this is where it gets tricky. What do you think he is at the NFL level? If you're asking me, I'm banking on the all pro.
Yeah.
Because I really believe the guy is special. But I agree with you that when you're just watching the tape and you're watching game after game and you're like, there's some inconsistency in production. Like, for example, the tackling, we talked about that, right? Like, I think he's a pretty good tackler, but there's definitely times on tape where he just like will try to arm tackle and he'll let guys go by him. I think he has great leverage naturally, but there's plenty of times on tape, especially late in games, where he looks tired and he just stands up, right? And guys get underneath his chest and it's over. And so there's stuff that has to be sorted out in the pre-draft process. But if you're asking me to make a bet, I'm making a bet that he is the blue chip high-level athlete. And I would feel actually very comfortable taking Peter Wood in the top 10 because I would bank on those traits. That's my summation of Peter Wood.
Yeah. In a class that kind of lacks that all pro upside, I think that's not a bad bet. I got to go back and watch some more of his tape from previous seasons because, you can see it, like Bree, Clemson really running the style. I mean, if you look at these numbers, 2025 Clemson, he had a 72.9 PFF grade this year. He had 83.7 in 2024 and 87.6 in 2023 as a true freshman. This is a guy who produced right away as a true freshman, and again as a sophomore, and again this year he didn't have as good as numbers, but still very good player. So I have to go back and kind of watch more of that. But guys who produce at a high level like that right away typically are the type of guys who you can see that have that all pro potential.
I mean, I don't know if you mentioned some of his Feldman freak list numbers. Did you mention his 240 of his 310 pounds are lean muscle mass?
No, I didn't. I forgot to put that one in.
Just 240 of his 310 pounds are lean muscle mass. Benches 490, 34 reps at 225, squats over 700, cleans 385, and supposedly runs a sub 4.9, like a 4.86 with a 33-inch vertical. That is crazy athleticism.
Yeah.
Right.
It just
and
doesn't show as much as I'd like it to.
But he shows it. Like
he does show it.
See it.
But
when you see it, it's there. It's not. Yeah. It's
not 5 out of 5 though, like it should be.
You can't give him a grade like that all the time when it's not consistent. I agree. Right. I grade him based on kind of a combination of whether it's consistent and just if I see it enough where I'm like, I know it's there.
Yeah.
And then I start wondering, is it not there because of how crappy, that team was this year? And I kind of think that's part of it. But anyway, we should get to the grades and talk about why he landed here. Again, I graded him as he tied for my highest grade with Kaden McDonald, just to be clear,
He was my
for
third
different
highest.
reasons. Yeah. Strength, we both gave him a 4. Leverage, we both give him a 3. And I'm going to guess that the reason we did that is because he starts the game with great leverage, and when he gets tired, he loses it. Would you agree?
Yeah, and it's not like an elite leverage start either, just good.
Yeah. Jump and explosiveness, 4. This should be a 5, just to be clear. Don't see it enough. Hand usage, 4. Quickness, 4. Balance, you gave him a 3. I gave him a little higher here. I gave him a 4. Tackling, you gave him a 2. You're a little harsh, but I get it. And I gave him a 3.
And I'll tell you one thing with tackling, that is something that's consistent over all 3 years as far as his numbers go. Like he's 16 to 18% missed tackle rate every single year.
Yeah. And I think a lot of those happen late in games too, which is a concern. He gets tired, and I think there's deficiencies there. So you're going to have to decide, do you value this guy as a blue chip type athlete and a blue chip player? And again, if you're asking me, I do. Like if I'm sitting there and he would be high on my board in the bottom of the top 10, absolutely, right? And I would feel comfortable taking the guy. But I do think you have to, in the pre-draft process, any good GM, hopefully a new GM, and scout and coach are sitting down with Peter Wood and asking him to explain the inconsistencies on tape and why that elite player isn't consistently on display. I'd like to hear answers about that. Like the last two, how do you see a guy like Peter Wood fitting next to Dexter Lawrence on this line?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a guy who can potentially do both things for you. He's a guy who could potentially be a good run stopper and a guy who potentially be a good pass tracker. He could be a guy who's on the field for all 3 downs and could really feed off a guy like Dexter Lawrence. This could be your, Christian Wilkins to your Dexter Lawrence. You never know. But he's got to capture that upside that we know is there.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Am I doing 4?
Yeah.
All right. Who the hell's 4?
The last one.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right. Let me pull up number 4. Give me 2 seconds to get all his data together. And I'll pull it up for you folks. Our number 4 player is 6'4", 310-pound Christen Miller from Georgia, the University of Georgia. Speaking of inconsistent play, Christen Miller is another former 4-star recruit. Boy, oh boy, is this guy just oozing with traits, man. If you want traits, take Christen Miller. Here's the good. This is a high motor, very active, powerful, explosive athlete. He has good time. He's coached well at the line of scrimmage, good get off, strong, well-timed punch and hands to create some separation. He's a freakish level athlete. He crosses blockers, executes stunts effectively. He's another guy like Wood who stunts a lot. He has the ability to chase down ball carriers across the line of scrimmage and chase them down from the backside. He can split gaps and get skinny and do that. He can 2-gap too. His first step is very fast, very quick, powerful. He's really nasty at the point of attack. He will drive linemen completely backwards into the quarterback, and he will drive them back into the ball carrier. And I think he's an outstanding tackler when he gets there. Like he's very good to wrap guys up and take them down. Now, what are the negatives? Sometimes, like some of these other high power elite athletes that we've talked about, balance, body control become an issue, and they will run themselves out of plays. He does the same thing. He does tend to get upright sometimes when he's driving, and that loss of balance will affect him with leverage. And he doesn't consistently get the line of scrimmage to move all the time. He also, unlike these other guys, dude, he gets tired. Like late in games, he kind of wears down. And as the game goes on, I find I think this is where you see some of these problems, like the read and react stuff goes down. He gets pushed around a little bit more towards the end of games. I think right now he's kind of a 2-down lineman. That's how I view him right now, with a lot of upside. But at the end of the day, supreme athletic, high motor interior lineman, quick, explosive first step, very active, powerful hands, can split the gap, can execute stunts, and be a decent pass rusher doing things like that. Very solid against the run by breaking up the line and getting to the backfield. He can be a force, but he is inconsistent with his production, especially as games tend to go on. And I feel like he's a guy that, at least in the beginning of his career, is going to have to be kind of a 2-down lineman, not necessarily 3-down lineman, if you want to maximize his production. There's another Georgia player he reminded me a lot of when I was watching him. But I want to hear what your thoughts are.
He was a really interesting player to watch. I think you got into it. I thought he showed good athleticism. I thought he had really good, well-timed hands. I thought he hand battled well, and it just really brought some power with him. I definitely think his hands were the best part of his game. Really good athlete. Yeah, and a great motor. That's something I definitely took away. My issues you mentioned, I thought his balance was an issue. I thought, especially when it's double teams and somebody would come at him from his side, I saw him
forklifted.
Yeah, I saw him out on the ground way too often.
Yeah.
He said he did, one-on-one, he'll occasionally get that play where he can really take over and drive a guy, but I just didn't see it enough. It felt like he was not really much of a pocket pusher. He kind of had to beat a guy to a gap and get by him to really have a presence. It wasn't really winning with bull rushes. And he needs a little bit better with his awareness. He definitely, his read and reactability could be something left to be desired. But definitely a guy who a lot of upside. I'll tell you one guy I was watching when I was watching this guy. Did you notice 96 JJ Han from he's a freshman and he looked better than him to me. And he's a true freshman.
He was more impactful. Yeah.
Yeah, he really good. I'm excited to watch
Which,
him.
by the way, reminds me of another Georgia D tackle that I noticed when the guy who this guy reminded me of was coming out in the draft.
Who's that?
I mean, Christen Miller reminded me a lot of 2021 Jordan Davis.
Not nearly
a very,
as big, Not nearly as big though.
No, but the same kind of, Jordan Davis was a good athlete. And they used him all over the line. And
he was the athlete like Christian Miller is at 350.
No, absolutely. But he was also a guy who was really good, against a run, 2 downs, very solid. And they always took him off the field because he was just wearing down, and then his balance and things became an issue. So there was some of that in his game, I thought, And I remember watching when you watched that line of Trayvon Walker and Devontae Wyatt and Jordan Davis, who were all there on that Georgia team. The guy who stood out the most was freaking Jalen Carter, and I think he was I want to say, he was a redshirt freshman, I think, that year, or something like that. Or maybe he was a true sophomore. You can't deny the other guy popping. So we'll get to that guy next year, most likely.
Yeah.
Actually, was he a true freshman?
I think he's a true freshman.
I'll have to get him in
Maybe he's a redshirt freshman.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I like the guy. I don't love Miller. I think there's a lot to like about him, but I don't see him as a 3-down lineman that I can consistently rely on right now.
I was just watching him, kind of waiting for something I could make a note on, and I just I don't know, man. He was just he was not noteworthy. It's kind of like watching
good, not great.
Yeah. He's I see the physical traits. I do.
No, it's obvious, but it's not consistent. So let's go through the grades. Strength, we both gave him a 3. Leverage, I gave him a 3, you gave him a 2, but I get where you're coming from.
Yeah, I saw you just stood straight up.
Explosiveness, 4. Hand usage, 4. Quickness, 4. So this is where he shines, right? Explosive athletic traits. Balance, we both gave him a 2. Tackling, we both gave him a 3. So I mean, he grades out of a 3.21, so a slightly above average type player. Again, good, not great. I think there's room for improvement. Would I bank on it with a first-round pick? No. Would I bank on it with an early second-round pick? Probably not, to be honest.
Yeah.
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 All right.
No, I'm with you. I would maybe towards that back end of the top 100 type of thing.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see where he lands. I mean, this is the thing with him, though. And the same thing happened to Jordan Davis, by the way. That's why he's reminding me of him. Davis, his tape kind of looked like this. I'm serious.
Yeah.
Like it was
Yeah.
like this. And then his draft stock exploded with the combine, right?
Yeah, because he was giant in basically the athlete Christian Miller is.
I get it. But I'm fairly confident Christian Miller is going to test pretty spectacularly.
Yeah.
You know, we just went over the score. The stuff that we like about him was all testing stuff, right? Explosive testing stuff. So if he tests really out of his mind, he's a Georgia player, he's a Kirby player, like I can easily see this guy going in the first round. You know what I mean? Like I can easily see a guy like him from Georgia going in the first round. I wouldn't touch him that high. I like him, but I'm not touching him with my first round pick. I'm not touching him with my second round pick. Maybe if I have a late second, early third, that's where I would kind of think about him, you know, maybe. But again, I think there are other guys, and we're going to have another episode at some point going over more of these D tackles. There are going to be other guys that I think we would prefer, that we could probably get better value in. So that's kind of how I feel. And I think you're going to go over one of those guys right now.
Yeah, this guy was a suggestion by our friend DKit. He wanted us to review him, so we made sure to get him in. And I'm glad he did, because I actually, despite him ending last year, for me, I felt like it was a lot more of just that he is a type. He's not the most versatile player, but he's a really good at what he does, and that's Lee Hunter from Texas Tech. 6'4", 330 pounds. You can see the numbers here if you're watching is really good, but we'll get those later. Let me just get to what I saw that I really liked about him. I thought he showed strength and anchor to absorb and totally neutralize double teams. Steadily walked interior lineman back when isolated. Like he's not a guy who has that explosiveness that will just absolutely overpower and run a guy back into a quarterback. But every single time this guy one-on-one is just back, and just consistently moving them. He's more functional than dynamic as a run defender, but he anchors and finishes when the ball comes into his area. He's not necessarily a guy who's making these outstanding run plays, but ball comes near him, he's making the tackle. It's very, very functional, very good. Strong two-gap presence that allows him to absorb blockers and read plays effectively. And, I talk about the double team part, like occupies multiple blockers, creating favorable matchups for linebacker and edge rushers. He's a guy who can just eat double teams when they come his way. Now the negatives on him is he's not a quick finisher. He lacks pass rush routes to quickly shed blockers. Like when he walks those guys back and gets them near the quarterback, he's not like shedding them quickly and making the play with the quarterback in reach. He's a guy who's just kind of more just affecting it with pressure, and he will if he gets even reach him, but he's not really shedding them that well there. Lacks consistent knee bend stiffness through hip, shows up when redirecting or shedding. He's just kind of a stiff player. He's not a good athlete. He's just very like stiff looking, but he is who he is type of thing. He plays with below average speed and limited agility. He lacks the elite first step and explosiveness. There's none of that like edge threatening athleticism you could do with some of these guys. And he primarily attacks with a bull rush or just a linear power moves. Counters and spin and rip techniques are really kind of infrequent on the tape. But I with all that said, Sal, I really liked him. Like this is a guy that I feel like you could get maybe early day 3, and it's just going to be a guy who will change your run defense. He's a guy who will be a very, very good run defender for you.
Yeah. I don't think he'll be there day 3. I think this is the thing about Lee Hunter. He is a D tackle who knows what he is, and he lives up to it. When you watch him, he knows exactly who he is and what he is. So the first thing you got to say about Lee Hunter is when you watch him, he is a massive human being. Like his height and weight numbers, he is physically built very differently than these other guys. This is a big fat guy, right? This is a large mammoth human being. And I think everything you said from a scouting perspective is fairly accurate. I agree with it. He's not like explosive. He has explosive reps, but he's not consistently explosive off the snap. He's more of a momentum builder as he drives backwards, into guys, and he will make the tackle. And he's a he's a double team eating run stopping machine is what he is, right? And
Yep.
he has the ability to free up and disengage from blockers, and that's his pass rush move, right? Like when he's getting double teamed and he's able to disengage, if the play's still going, that's when you see him rush the quarterback and get there. Like, and it's like this very terrifying thing to watch when he's closing on a quarterback. The quarterback sees this guy coming, and that's a big human being about to hit you. But he's not. I don't see him as a guy who's like trying to work multiple different techniques to be a dominant pass rusher. I think he knows what he is. He's a run stopping machine. I think, again, I'm going to make the argument that these guys carry a lot of value, and he's so good at it. I mean, he is so good at it that I think he's going to go higher. I get what you're saying that, like, there are guys like him often do go early day 3. They can fall like that. I think the NFL is going to put a bit of I could be wrong, but I think they're going to have a little bit more of a premium for these guys. Now, where I see his stock getting hurt, quite frankly, he looks slow,
Yeah, he's gonna
like
test
I don't think he's going to test well at all, and he plays aggressive with a high motor, which makes up for it on tape. I don't think his testing will go well. So he might be a value pick. I don't think that's a knock on the player, but it may be a knock on the stock, right? But
yeah,
when I was saying you could get like a great value run stopping, run defending monster for the line later, this is the guy I was talking about. I think you can get this guy later on day 2. Like I'm thinking like mid 3rd round possibly is where I would feel very, very comfortable taking him. Maybe even early 3rd round, but it all depends on how the pre-draft process goes. But there's a world in which his testing is so bad he does slide to where you're saying. So
yeah,
I just think he's very comfortable in his skin. He knows what he's doing out there. Like he's there to plug up the run and allow linebackers to do their job as well. Like he eats the line. He's just a offensive line eating machine is what he is.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, this guy isn't making any of the top 50 lists right now. We'll see where he ends up in the top 100s, and after the top 100, that means you're a day 3 guy. You got to be a top 100 guy to be a day 3 guy, to be a day 2 guy. We'll see. I could see him landing up in the round 3. I don't think with his athleticism, he's going to be a round 2 guy. I really don't. But
it's going to be interesting. Yeah.
We'll see.
So what's interesting about his data, he has a 10% pass rush win rate, which is the highest of all the guys we've reviewed. And I got to be honest, I didn't see that on tape. I don't know if I counted like 1 in 10 pass rush reps where he was winning consistently, but I can see him winning more than you would think.
I'll say 1 out of 10. He was definitely walking his guy back into the quarterback, if that's what they're counting.
I think that's what they're counting, because it wasn't
which is effective. Like he's not a guy who just anchors and holds. He does get push.
Right. But he's also not the guy that comes flying out of your screen either.
No,
like he's just pushing guys back like steadily.
It doesn't sneak up on you. You see it coming, but
it's a momentum builder. I'm telling you, like play after play. I do think the Alfred Collins discussion that people are having is probably a fair one. I think he's that kind of a player. So where do you value him? 2nd round, 3rd round, somewhere in there, but he's a very good football player. I like him, and he's experienced. That's the other thing. He's been playing football for a while, at a high level for a while, and he's getting better seemingly yearly. It's a good bet to be a strong, high floor NFL defensive tackle. I really actually like this guy, and depending on where his stock is, I like the prospect of potentially getting him.
Yeah, Alfred Collins just didn't look as stiff to me.
Yeah. Now so that's the 5 we're gonna go over in depth today. We obviously left a couple of big names off and names that people wanted to hear about for sure. I did review LeGrand Orange from Iowa State. I don't want to get into it today because I think we'll do a full episode on him and a few other guys, but he's another interesting guy. Obviously. Yeah. And I think, we're going to probably have to have another episode on this because there's just too many good players where we can give it, proper time to review the film on these guys to just condense it all in one episode. But he's one to look out for. Caleb Banks, obviously, is a guy who's projected to go in the 1st round from Florida. And I think that we have to, kind of get into his film a little bit more. He's a guy that I think he doesn't have the reps from this year, I think injury, hurt him. He only played 3 games. So We'll have to see how it goes, but he has tape from last year. And there are a few other guys that are more of the day 3 type guys that I think we have to get into at some point. But I think these 5 are a pretty good starting foundation to reviewing the DTs. And I mean, say what you want. You never have enough defensive linemen. You just never have enough of these guys on your team. You got to just figure out where you want to take them, how you want to add them. But I really like these players. And, for all the talk of this is a weak draft class, Monty, like we've done a lot of reviews now. I'm like, you really think this is a weak class? I mean, it's weak at the blue chipper level.
It's the top, and the top dictates all of the media opinion on it.
But there's a lot of quality depth in this draft class, I think, especially on defense. We've gone through some defensive positions where they're very strong.
I wouldn't say it's like special, but it's very good.
Yeah. It reminds me a lot of, like 2022 draft class was kind of like this, right? Like there wasn't much at the top. There are some really high quality players taken throughout day 2 and early day 3,
Yeah,
So,
that ended up being a pretty good draft for us, even though we just picked for position and fucked up a lot.
Yeah, we got good players out of it eventually. But anyway, so that's the 5. Let's see what's going on coming up. So, all right. So there is a special game going on actually right now. I'm sorry for those who couldn't tune in, but the Louisiana Ragin' Cajuns are battling the Delaware Blue Hens right now as we speak in the Mobile something Bowl. And we have to give shout out to the Delaware Blue Hens.
Shout out.
So, yeah, Delaware, where football starts. All right. There are definitely some bowls going on. There's a bowl game tomorrow, Missouri State at Arkansas State. And then there's some, but on, the fun starts on Friday. There is a playoff game on Friday night for those who are interested. The college football bracket kicks off with number 9 Alabama at number 8 Oklahoma. That's going to be a fun one, and that's in Norman. Who do you got in that one, Monty?
I'm gonna go with Alabama here. I think Ty Simpson. I think he rebounds. He's had a couple bad games, but I think he gets together. I think he rebounds, and I think Alabama, does their normal. Oklahoma falls in the playoffs like we normally do.
Oklahoma's got a very good defense. I'm not sure I believe much in that Alabama team. I'm going to go with Oklahoma here. Oklahoma is a 1.5 point favorite, so should be a fun game to watch. Saturday, 12. By the way, that game's 8 o'clock on Friday night. Saturday, we got a good one at 12 o'clock. This is a hell of a 12 o'clock game right here, and it is number 10 Miami at number 7 Texas A&M in College Station. That is a banger of a game. What do you? And A&M's a 3.5 point favorite at home. Who do you got in this one?
It's tough, man. I'm gonna say Miami. And let's say that dude Ruben Bain closes it out.
Little arm Ruben Bain.
Little arm Ruben Bain.
Oh, by the way, for those who don't know, Ruben Bain apparently has T-Rex arms, according to Dane Brugler, and is no longer according to me, is no longer draftable in the first 33 picks of the NFL draft. NFL, kindly don't touch him. He's not good anymore. Let him fall to pick 34. 34 is the highest he should go. It's a little. You have a different view than me. I think it's a little ridiculous, but I'm curious where he ends up.
Yeah, I mean, I would still take him. Like nothing's really changed too much in how I take him. I think it's the reality is the NFL will. That's what they do.
If he measures at a 30 and 3/4 inch arms, is he going in the top 5?
No.
He's going to fall over this, most likely. It's going to be interesting.
There are teams that will straight up take him off their board as an edge rusher. That's reality.
He's going to fall right to the Baltimore Ravens, and they will take him.
Yeah.
That's what's going to end up happening. They're going to be like, oh, look, good player.
Hopefully Washington's one of those teams that takes him off the board because they scare the shit out of me sitting right there.
I mean, why would Washington take him when they have elite pass rusher they just paid Javon Kinlaw?
Yeah, there you go.
Right? Why would they want him? Right? He's a 3-tech, isn't he? I know. Anyway, next game. Number 11 Tulane at number 6 Ole Miss. This is the 3:30 game in Oxford. Ole Miss is a 17.5 point favorite here. Is there any world in which Tulane can win this game?
They don't even have their coach anymore, do they?
Yeah, he's still coaching them.
Okay, that's
He's
good.
coaching them until he heads to Florida after this.
I mean, hey, they have their coach and Ole Miss doesn't. Maybe they pull it off with a broken Ole Miss team after coaching staff left them high and dry. You know what? Let's see. Maybe.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I'm pretty sure Trinidad Chambliss is going to whoop the shit out of them in this game, and we're looking at a beating, an absolute beating. So Ruben, hold on a second. I didn't see this. Ruben Dale Robinson. Or Ruben Dale Robainson. That's who he is from now on. Remember, everybody, Ruben Bain is not draftable. Tell everybody you know he cannot be taken in the first 33 picks of the NFL draft. Off your board, NFL. You cannot draft him. All right. Next game, the night game on Saturday night. Number 12, James Madison. At number 5, Oregon in Eugene. Oregon is a 21-point favorite at home. What do you think the odds are that James Madison can pull this sucker off?
0
against Dante Moore.
Yeah, no, they're not winning that game. Oregon's are very, very good football team.
By the way, Amari Washington. Watch this game not for the quality of football you'll see, but for Amari Washington doing horrible things to the
horrible.
I feel very bad for James Madison's offensive line in this game. Very, very bad. Monday night, there is a bowl game, Washington State at Utah State, if you're really sick enough to watch that. And then let me see. We got some other stuff coming up. I'm going to skip some of this crap. That's pretty much it for this weekend. And that's your first round games and a couple of bowl games. So Saturday, 3 games. And I think, if you're home Friday night, number 9 Alabama at number 8 Oklahoma, 8:00 on ESPN. Giants play this weekend. They are at home hosting 9 and the Vikings. What are the chances the Giants win this game?
I would say decent. I mean, it's unfortunate, man, but I'm telling you, we're home. We've played these NFC North teams well. I think this Giants team is a lot closer to what we've seen the rest of the season than we've seen the last 2 games. Maybe they just totally given up, and maybe we don't have a shot. But I'm not there. I'm not going to get my hopes up. I think we're going to play a close game.
Well, I'm fully expecting the Giants to fuck up the number 1 pick anyway. I don't think it'll be this week, but I want to see Dart play well. Like I'm in the camp of I want to see us lose a lot of 37-34 games down the stretch, with Dart like lighting it up. But I got a feeling in this one, man. Like the way our defense is playing and the way like Minnesota's offense is clicking right now. And the only thing not clicking in that offense right now is the connection between McCarthy and Justin Jefferson. If that hits, if they find their connection in this game, this could be just a bloodbath.
Or you get another bad 9 game and he throws 3 picks.
He might. 9 might show up as bad 9. Like
bad 9.
Evil 9 shows up just to make all his haters happy. And like, how much will the haters really hate JJ McCarthy if he fucks up this game to fuck up the Giants' number 1 overall pick?
Oh, the Twitter's gonna be a bloodbath.
Yeah, I don't take responsibility for that. If that happens, I will not. Don't at me. Don't talk to me. I'm just like I can't. He obviously has multiple personalities. I don't know which one's going to show up on Sunday. So Monty's life will be on the line. I agree. Blame Monty.
My mention's gonna be a bloodbath. It's going to be JJ sells.
Right. But if JJ destroys us, make sure to put a link to our episode where we like JJ McCarthy.
Credit me.
Credit us. Absolutely. All right. I think that's a show. You got anything else to go over? I'm not discussing that.
People who are watching can see it.
Just put it up there and let people figure out what that means. All right. You got anything else?
Oh man. We'll see. We'll see if we're talking about the number one pick when we come back next week. And we'll see. We'll talk about what we'll review and what episode we're doing next week. Or well, I guess taking a week off. So 2 weeks. We'll see if we come back 2 weeks from now.
I will not be here next week. I will be making a pilgrimage to Central Florida, to Orlando, exactly where a man of my age wants to spend his vacation. Exactly.
Hang out with Mickey Mouse.
My kids they're lucky that I actually love them because this is brutal. But I will be not here next week, but I'll be back next week, the week after, and we'll do something. I don't know. What do we have left? Do we have quarterback left? Is that it?
I think that's it. We'll do a defensive line part 2 eventually, but yeah, I think quarterback's back.
The only position we have left to go over. Should we even do a quarterback episode?
We can do it. It might get views for like other fan bases and stuff like that.
Yeah, we'll do a quarterback episode. It's going to be the most bullshit episode we've ever done. And we've done some real bullshit episodes. So we will do a quarterback episode.
Also, it's worth discussing if we really think a team would, if we have number one pick, if a team really would trade up for these quarterbacks. We think that they are that good.
True. Yeah. I mean, the quarterback episode becomes more interesting if Dante Moore comes out. If Dante Moore does not come out, this is just a preview of the quarterback episode. This class is ass. Like straight doo-doo ass, this quarterback class. So, I'm sorry to ruin the episode before we do it, but it is not a fun class right now. So we'll get in the film and we'll be honest about it, but not looking great. Just glad we don't have to pick a quarterback this year.
And you yelled at me for saying a team might not want to trade up for these quarterbacks.
No, I think teams are desperate. Teams are desperate. They don't have quarterback options. Do you realize who the number one free agent quarterback is going to be in the NFL this year?
Daniel Jones off an Achilles.
Mac fucking Jones. That's who is going to be
Mac
number
Jones
one.
Not a free agent.
He's not?
Mm-mm.
He's on a 2-year deal?
Yep.
So it might be Daniel Jones coming off an Achilles. And then who's the next best? Is nobody.
Gardner Minshew after he takes the Chiefs on a 3-game win streak.
Tua is going to be on the market for whoever wants him. Kyler Murray is going to be on the market for whoever wants him.
Yeah, it's going to be shit like that.
I mean, it's going to be some real dog shit flying around. So yeah, I do think people are going to want to trade up for these quarterbacks. I don't know how much you'll get, but you'll get something. You'll get something. All right, guys, that's an episode. Thank you guys as always for joining us. Before you go, please hit the like button, hit subscribe, retweet us on Twitter, share us in our episode. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers so we can start gaming the algorithm. You can follow us at He's a Giant Pod. Follow me at Queens_guy. Follow Monte at MonteCri5TO. Direct all hate mail towards Monte if you don't like the outcome of Sunday's game. Until we see you again in a couple of weeks, go Giants, go Loss.
Go Giants, go Dart.
Absolutely. Go 9.